possibly a national championship trophy to Boulder. With Juju Lewis being the quarterback there, I'm telling you right now, they ain't letting a lot be seen how we seen in years past. They ain't letting a lot of footage leak through the cracks. This Colorado Buffaloes football team might just be the best team under Coach Prime tenure. And that is a lot because he has Shedeur, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, LaJonte all on one damn team. So could you...
Shedeur Sanders didn't leave Colorado, not really. The most talked about quarterback in the NFL right now, the one selling jerseys before he's thrown a regular season pass, spent part of his offseason walking back into the facility he left, coaching up the guy who replaced him, on his own time with nobody watching, or so they thought. And here's the part that's been sitting with me, because if you followed Coach Prime's Colorado program, the media access, the reality show energy, the cameras everywhere, you know that footage doesn't just disappear. Every meaningful moment gets surfaced, gets packaged, gets pushed. But this session, the one where Shedeur is breaking down pre-snap reads with Julian Lewis in the 2026 quarterback room, it barely made a ripple. Most channels didn't touch it, most analysts didn't mention it, and that silence is the most interesting thing about this entire story. Because when you actually watch what Shedeur is teaching, when you listen to the specific language he's using, the reads he's correcting, the mental model he's installing inside these young quarterbacks, you start to understand something about Colorado's 2026 ceiling that nobody is currently pricing in. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't be able to unsee it.
Incredible footage. Shedeur Sanders, you guys can watch the full video in its entirety on Well Off Media, but this shows you the mindset Shedeur is going into and helping Colorado be a successful football team even after him. So for all the people that got mad that Shedeur name got retired in the rafters, I damn sure don't believe former quarterbacks was coming there. Maybe one or two, Cordell Stewart for sure.
There's a moment every Colorado fan remembers. Not the wins, not the recruiting headlines. The moment Shedeur's number got retired in the rafters, and the reaction split people down the middle. Half the fan base saw it as the right call, legacy recognition, a signal that Coach Prime's program means something. The other half, they saw a program quietly admitting that what Shedeur represented might never come back through that door again. And that's the wound that nobody fully addressed. Because when a franchise-level talent walks out, when the guy who put your program on the cultural map goes to the NFL, the question isn't just who replaces him on the field. The question is, who replaces what he understood about the game, the processing speed, the anticipation, the ability to play in rhythm before the defense makes a move. That's not a trait you recruit. That's a thing you learn. And Colorado, sitting now with Julian Lewis in a young quarterback room entering the 2026 season, needed someone who understood that gap and was willing to do something about it. Shedeur didn't have to come back. No team asked him to. No contract required it. He showed up anyway. That tells you something.
I'm thinking like, so then you'll be stuck with the ball in your hand, now you get hit, and somebody not doing what it says to do. You know what I'm saying? So you can't anticipate anything. You can't play in rhythm. Because obviously, like, you could beat the pressure with playing in rhythm, but it's kind of like if you don't know what route he's running with, so what route is kind of like you setting yourself up for failure. You may have success now doing it, but over time, it's going to catch up when it catches up.
The first thing you notice in the footage isn't what Shedeur is saying. It's what he's not doing. He's not performing. He's not running a coaching clinic for cameras. He is standing in front of these quarterbacks like someone who has already been humbled by a defense and is trying to make sure these guys don't feel what he felt when he wasn't ready. There's zero showmanship in his posture, zero ego in his corrections, just a guy who knows something and needs them to know it too. And the room is quiet. Not quiet in the deferential way young players go quiet when a name walks in. Quiet like they're actually listening. That's different. That's rare. Shedeur says something in this clip that most analysts will hear as basic quarterback instruction. He's not talking about arm talent. He's not talking about footwork. He tells them if you can't run the right route, basically, then it's kind of like you'll never have the right reads. Most people hear receiver technique lesson. What he's actually saying is that quarterback vision is downstream of receiver discipline, that the entire mental model, the anticipation, the rhythm, the pre-snap read, collapses the moment a receiver deviates from the designed route. He's not coaching footwork, he's coaching cause and effect. He's installing the same cognitive framework that made him one of the fastest processors at his position in college football, and he's doing it in an off-season session that most people barely noticed. Here's something worth sitting with. This footage didn't come from Colorado's official social channels. It didn't come from a Coach Prime media push. It came out through Julian Sanders Jr.'s platform, quietly, organic, no production value built around it, in a program that historically treated access as a marketing asset, where everything is packaged, everything has a purpose. A clip like this releasing without a press strategy attached to it tells you something. Either it wasn't supposed to be seen yet, or it was released exactly the way it was supposed to be, and both of those answers are interesting.
So that was basically in this clip here, Shedeur Sanders pretty much saying, them as the quarterbacks, if your wide receiver's not running the right route that was called, or he's running it too slow, or he might have got hemmed up, you need to let them know, hey, this could go bad. Maybe I could, scramble, get out the pocket, and maybe create a play for you. But if you're not running the right route to begin with, we have an issue here because this could maybe cost the pick. If this set play.
Colorado's 2025 roster, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, and Leonte Carroo in the same building, created one of the most talented wide receiver groups the Big 12 had seen in years. Julian Lewis steps into a situation where the infrastructure is already there. What has been missing is a quarterback who can use it at the pace it demands. That's what Shedeur was. That's what this offseason work is trying to transfer. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw a first-round quarterback prospect go back to his college program in his own offseason before his first NFL season and spend real hours coaching up the guy who came after him? Not a social media cameo, not a photo op, a working session, breaking down route trees, correcting reads in real time. When was the last time that happened? Because I'm struggling to find the comparison, and that absence of comparison should be making more noise than it is. What Shedeur is doing in that room is not mentorship in the way people typically frame it. This is more specific than that. This is identity transference. When a player like Shedeur Sanders returns to a place that shaped him before his new identity as an NFL quarterback has fully calcified, what he's actually doing is offloading the cognitive architecture that made him, the reads, the anticipation patterns, the way he processes coverage pre-snap. He is downloading it into someone else before the NFL rewires him. This is what psychologists call expertise externalization. The window before elite knowledge becomes so embodied that it can no longer be articulated. Right now, Shedeur can still explain what he does, can still slow it down, can still say, here's why I felt pressure before it arrived. In 2 years of NFL reps, that explanation might not be accessible anymore. It'll just be instinct. But right now, it can be taught. And Julian Lewis is the receiver of something genuinely rare. Now look at it from Lewis's perspective. You're a highly recruited quarterback. You've heard your whole life that you have it. And then you sit across from the guy whose number is already in the rafters, the guy the program built itself around. And instead of feeling overshadowed, you're being handed a set of keys. That's not pressure, that's acceleration. The danger for Lewis isn't confidence. The danger is that he absorbs what Shedeur thinks without fully internalizing why Shedeur thinks it, the knowledge without the reps to validate it. That's actually what Shedeur's instruction is designed to guard against. He's not telling Lewis what decisions to make, he's teaching him how to build a decision tree. There's a meaningful difference between those two things. Think about it from Coach Prime's point of view for a second. He built this program on relationships, on the idea that elite talent attracts elite talent, on the belief that character and legacy compound over time. But he also knows, he has to know, that what made Colorado work at the quarterback position was Shedeur specifically, the son, the relationship, the trust that allowed for real-time coaching adjustments that you can't replicate through normal staff channels. That trust doesn't transfer automatically to a new coordinator, a new scheme, a new playbook, but it might transfer through Shedeur himself. And if it does, if Shedeur's presence in that building, even informally, even in one off-season session, gives Julian Lewis a foundation that would have taken 2 full seasons to build otherwise, then Coach Prime's real masterstroke wasn't the recruiting, it was the culture he built that made Shedeur want to come back. Colorado doesn't do things accidentally, not at this level of exposure. Every move the program makes gets filtered through a lens of brand, recruitment, and perception. So when footage of Shedeur working with the quarterback room surfaces, quietly, through a secondary channel without the usual production framework, you have to ask, what does this release say, and who is it talking to?
It's not talking to fans. Fans don't evaluate route tree instruction. It's not talking to the media. The media didn't amplify it. It's talking to recruits. It's talking to offensive coordinators around the country who will be game planning for Colorado in the fall. It's talking to Julian Lewis himself, publicly confirming that the guy's shoes he's stepping into chose to come back and invest in him. That's an organizational signal wrapped in a mentorship session. It says, this program has continuity that goes beyond the staff. It says, Shedeur Sanders is still spiritually invested in Colorado's success. And it says, more quietly than anything else, that what we built here doesn't leave when the player does. When Coach Prime let Shedeur's number go to the rafters, people debated the symbolism. What nobody talked about was what a retired number actually communicates to the next quarterback who has to fill the void. It communicates, you don't have to be him, you have to be the next version. And the fact that Shedeur himself showed up to help with that transition, that's not coincidence. Organizations at this level don't make symbolic accidents. But to understand why this matters, we have to go back to what Colorado was before Shedeur and before Coach Prime. A program that wasn't nationally relevant, a program that good recruits didn't choose first. Cordell Stewart came back to help when he could, but the pipeline between former players and the current roster, it didn't exist the way it exists right now. What Shedeur walking through that door represents isn't just one mentorship session. It's the first evidence of an alumni culture forming around a program that barely had a culture 2 years ago. And that might be the most significant long-term development in the entire Coach Prime era, more significant than any single recruit. At the locker room level, what Shedeur's appearance does is establish a standard. The 53 other players in that building in 2026 will know that the previous face of the program came back to invest in them, without obligation, without a check. That creates a psychological current that runs underneath everything, under the practices, under the film sessions, under the fourth quarter moments when doubt enters a young quarterback's mind. Julian Lewis will have felt something that most college quarterbacks never feel, chosen by the guy who already made it. At the season level, if Lewis absorbs even 60% of what Shedeur was installing, the rhythm throwing, the pre-snap processing, the understanding that receiver precision is the foundation of quarterback confidence, Colorado's 2026 offense becomes genuinely dangerous. They're not rebuilding around a talent vacuum, they're building around a knowledge transfer. That's a different kind of ceiling. It's not a rebuilding year, it's a continuation. At the legacy level, and this is the part that nobody is saying out loud, what Shedeur Sanders did in that room may be remembered as the moment that Coach Prime's program graduated from a novelty into an institution. Because institutions aren't built by talent alone. They're built by the culture that talent leaves behind. And right now, Shedeur is depositing something into Colorado's culture that no recruiting ranking can measure. At the start of this, I told you Shedeur Sanders didn't really leave Colorado, and I meant it. Because what he showed up and deposited in that quarterback room isn't just technique, it's proof of concept. The proof that this program builds something in a player that makes them want to come back. That's not marketing, that's legacy in real time. Because underneath all the football, the route trees and the pre-snap reads and the Big 12 title conversations, there's a 23-year-old kid who just got drafted into a league that will test everything he thinks he knows. And instead of spending his offseason protecting himself, protecting his brand, protecting his energy for the grind ahead, he walked back through a door he didn't have to open for guys whose names he barely knew 6 months ago and did the quiet, difficult, invisible work of trying to make sure someone else doesn't learn the hard way what he already learned. That's not a headline, but it might be the most important thing that's happened in Boulder this offseason. So here's what I need you to settle in the comments. Is Shedeur Sanders coming back to Colorado proof that Coach Prime built something genuinely generational? Or is this one offseason session that we're all reading way too deeply into? Because I've got people on both sides of that argument, and I want to hear where you land.